Hello, Scooby Doo fans! Welcome to my Season 1 Episode 6 review of Scooby Doo, Where Are You? So last time I continued my 2024 summer special with my review of Season 1 Episode 10 of the new Scooby Doo movies, which was the Laurel and Hardy episode, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. But of course today, I'll be covering Season 1 Episode 6 of Scooby Doo, Where Are You? Titled What the Heck's Going On, which was released on October 18th, 1969. The short synopsis of the episode is, Mystery Inc. is headed to their friend Sharon Weatherby's estate. When they arrive, Sharon's Uncle Stuart disappears, and when they find him, he says he was beckoned by the voice of the ghost of Elias Kingston from the Kingston Mansion. The gang find themselves wrapped up in the tangle of the spooky ghoul of Elias Kingston, who wants the family treasure. So as per usual, I'll be watching Season 1 Episode 6 of Scooby Doo, Where Are You on the Scooby Doo, Where Are You? The complete series box set. This box set has all of the Scooby Doo, Where Are You episodes, including the fake third season of Scooby Doo, Where Are You, which I've already talked about, but it's pretty much the third season of the Scooby Doo show. And it has good special features, which I talk about in my Season 2 Episode 8 review of Scooby Doo, Where Are You? So if you want to go check that out, you're more than welcome to. As for this episode's reception, I believe most fans consider this episode to be a good episode of the original series. I've heard it praised a lot, and it must be good because the people who, Hanna-Barbera themselves, use this episode a lot in the intro of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? In the main title song. And I believe in my previous review, I said that I did enjoy the Elias Kingston episode, and that I did actually like it the first time around and thought it was a good episode. So, will my opinion change? Will it go down to an average or to a negative? Or will it stay up and be positive? Well, let's find out, shall we? So let's look at the episode to see whether I think it is a good or bad episode of Scooby Doo, Where Are You? The episode begins with a ghostly voice calling out from a spooky mansion, beckoning to a man walking in a trance. Meanwhile, on their way to visit their friend, Sharon Weatherby, the Mystery Inc. gang witnesses this odd sight, and upon arriving at the Weatherby's estate, they learn that Sharon's Uncle Stuart is missing. They then deduce that he was probably the man they saw going into the deserted Kingston Mansion. As the gang and the Weatherbys investigate the outside of the mansion, the gang find Uncle Stuart, but he has been transformed into an old man. They ask him what happened, and he tells them the story that he was called out of the Weatherby house by the ghost of Elias Kingston, who demanded that the Weatherby fortune be surrendered to him. Kingston's ghost threatened he would put an old age hex on the family and turn Uncle Stuart into an old man as a warning to all the family members. Mr. Weatherby tries to phone the police, but it seems like the phone is dead, so the gang tell him that he can go get the sheriff and they'll keep an eye on Uncle Stuart. So while Mr. Weatherby goes to speak to the sheriff, the gang stay behind with Sharon and her enfeebled uncle. And Fred decides that Scooby should stand guard since he has the best hearing out of the whole group. Whereupon Scooby tries to, fake that he has a hearing problem. A ruse that doesn't end up working because obviously it's Scooby. He's just trying to get out of it, and they know by now. However, after Scooby falls asleep, the voice calls again and Stuart walks out in another trance. When Scooby wakes the gang, they find that not only is Stuart gone, but Sharon is missing also. I like this scene because it's a good, introduction to a good showcase of the villains moaning. It's a bit creepy. But I also like, it gets Scooby and the gang into action, and it jumpstarts their mystery. And Scooby has a little bit of shenanigans as well.
Very well. Hey, what's with the bugle call, Scooby? We were very wrong.
Uh-oh. It looks like Uncle Stuart's gone again. He's not the only one. Sharon's gone too.
But like where? We'd better get ourselves up to that old mansion.
And fast.
So the gang go to the Kingston mansion to investigate and look for Sharon and her uncle. Though while there, they are unaware that Elias Kingston has Sharon tied up in a secret room behind a bookcase. Something interesting about this is that Shaggy is wearing roller skates throughout this portion of the episode. He never wears them again after, like, this small portion, you know, the small bit of the episode. I have no idea why Shaggy is wearing roller skates. It's unnecessary to the episode. It really isn't needed. And Shaggy says he's wearing it. Velma even questions about it, why are you wearing, Velma even questions him saying, why are you wearing those roller skates? And Shaggy says that he's wearing them so that he can get a jump on the ghost. You know, he can get away from the ghost and the ghost won't catch him. But Shaggy's pretty fast. You know, he runs track at school. You know, he's a very athletic guy, so I don't think he needs the skates to run away from the ghost. And wouldn't that just attract more attention to yourself by wearing roller skates? And clearly, it didn't end up working because the ghost was able to sneak up behind Shaggy and blow wind behind him, which caused him to fall into the tub, which, by the way, I do like that falling scene. Not just because it's a classic scene in the intro, but it's also a little funny as well.
I wonder if ghosts can hide in little pots. I guess not.
Then we get some fun hijinks with Scooby and this watchdog, which is very fun and entertaining. And even the villain like points out, you know, points out Scooby to the watchdog, and it's just very comedic. It's a lot of hijinks, and then the watchdog ends up ramming Shaggy back into the tub. And Shaggy says he hates taking a bath in a haunted house, and yeah, I don't blame him. Like, I wouldn't want to take a bath in a haunted house either. It's a fun little hijinks chase scene between Scooby and the watchdog.
Wow, how soggy can a guy get? If there's one thing I can't stand, it's taking a bath in a haunted house.
Fred says that Scooby found their first clue, and Scooby's surprised by this, and he said, I did? And Velma's like, yeah, whoever heard of a ghost needing a watchdog to guard the mansion? Which is true. A ghost wouldn't need a watchdog if he to watch the mansion if he was real. Shaggy then tells Fred, is this, he sees something and asks Fred, like, is this what Uncle Stuart was wearing when we last saw him? And then Fred verifies that yeah, it was. And then Shaggy points out the mummified bones of Uncle Stuart, who apparently had another run-in with the ghost and is now a skeleton. He's a dead man. He's really that ghost aged him up pretty quickly. This is a pretty dark scene too, considering that this is a real skeleton, a real body in the episode. That's very creepy and very terrifying. They really had big balls, Hanna-Barbera, to do that, and I commend them for it. Just like with the Captain Color episode, I commend them for going that extra mile when they probably wouldn't have gotten away with it today, and they probably would have worked around it. But I'm glad they did it to sell the spookiness of Scooby Doo Where Are You? Finally, Elias Kingston himself appears and repeats his threats once again to the kids, and says that if he does not get the Weatherby fortune, everybody in the house will grow old, and he tells them to go. This obviously doesn't deter the gang as they continue to investigate and try to solve the mystery. And then they watch as Kingston disappears into the Kingston family mausoleum in the cemetery next door to the mansion, and they follow him, noting that the supposed ghost has left behind fingerprints on the doorknob to the crypt. How do they figure this out? Well, Velma has a fingerprinting kit, and and Shaggy uses the fingerprinting kit first on Velma's hand, which is a nice little joke, and then he uses it on the doorknob, which reveals fingerprints, which is another clue because a ghost wouldn't leave fingerprints. Inside, they find a book on crystallomancy, but are trapped when the ghost locks them inside the crypt. For the rest of Shaggy's pretty, tense, thinking there's no, now that the door has been shut on them. Fred's optimistic and says to look for a secret passage like there would be one. I'm guessing he's assuming if the ghost got out somehow, maybe they can too. I don't know why you would think that, but fortunately they find a secret entrance out of the crypt, thanks to Scooby finding a hollow wall, which is a rotating wall, and we find out later that it was a shortcut to the Weatherby estate, as they explain on the drive to their next location. So they decide to follow up on the crystallomancy book by going into town to consult a Swami. The Swami's out, though, and Scooby winds up impersonating the Swami when a customer unexpectedly enters, thanks to Daphne's clumsiness and danger-prone self for opening a closet filled with a bunch of junk. And so Shaggy has to throw his voice to get rid of the customer, and we get a fun little scene of Shaggy throwing his voice and Scooby doing some fun shenanigans with the customer. After the customer leaves, the face of Kingston appears in the crystal ball, and the table levitates, chasing them around the room. The table chase scene is very fun because we get some fun little jokes from Velma, and the gang, and it's just a fun little chase scene of the gang evading this table. And it leads them to finding even more clues after the chase scene.
Okay, gang, let's get on with our investigation.
Hey, look! The table's floating!
Zoinks! It's the Goonie Ghost!
You did not do as I said. Now you shall pay.
Hey! Look out! Duck!
It's after us!
Here it comes again!
I've heard of flying saucers, but this is silly!
Run! Run! Run!
We got rid of it!
We did? Then, what's that?
He's a real joker!
I'm not laughing!
Duck!
Look out, Scooby!
The table crashes, revealing a fan-like motor beneath, and more clues quickly reveal themselves, as mentioned previously, as we see packed suitcases, a professional makeup kit, and a closed-circuit TV camera suitable for broadcasting images onto the crystal ball. So now that the gang have all the clues laid out, they feel like they have solved the mystery, and now it's time to set a trap to catch the ghost. I should also point out that, this is one of 2 times that Daphne's voice comes out of Velma's mouth. So enjoy that in this episode, because there's going to be a lot of moments where Daphne's voice is going to be coming out of Velma's mouth. I don't know why they keep fucking that up, but... Anyways, back at the Kingston mansion, the gang decides to lay a trap for the ghost, and Shaggy and Scooby are the bait for this trap, which I believe is the first episode where Shaggy and Scooby are the bait. So this is a pretty big episode. So Shaggy and Scooby lure out the ghost with a chest supposedly holding the family fortune. But instead of the Weatherby fortune, it contains a water-squirting Jack-in-the-Box. And this pisses off the ghost, and he gives chase to Shaggy and Scooby. I love this scene because we get to see Shaggy and Scooby messing with the villain, being brave, and being the bait. And the ghost gets some karma when he tries to hurt Shaggy and Scooby, and he ends up punching an anvil, which is fucking hilarious.
Yoo-hoo! Mr. Ghost, I'm here with the fortune. Yoo-hoo! Uh-oh.
Ah, good. You brought the fortune. How fortunate for you. Stay until I see you with my own eyes. It's a trick. I'll turn you to bones.
The plan's working, Scooby!
You can't get away.
Quick, get behind the curtain. Shh! Scooby, I hope the ghost doesn't find us. Perfecto! I got my shoes, now let's join the gang.
When Shaggy and Scooby reunite with the gang use the closed-circuit TV camera to play tricks on the ghost. First, they use a projected image of Shaggy to get the ghost to chase him. He does, he falls for the bait. Then they use footage of the ghost himself with the special camera, and this confuses the ghost and makes him think there's a real ghost. Then the ghost of Elias Kingston gets frightened by an image of a giant Scooby Doo, and so he runs to the secret room where he had Sharon tied up, and yeah, we find out that Sharon somehow got rescued. Never explain how, we never see it. It happens off screen. And then the ghost of Elias Kingston finds the bones of Uncle Stewart in the secret room, which frighten him into the trap where they drop a simple net on him. Yeah, it was just a net, but at least they were creative with it, and they used the closed-circuit TV camera to catch him. Back at the Weatherby estate, the Scooby-Doo gang have the ghost of Elias Kingston tied up with Sharon and Mr. Weatherby both there with no sheriff for some reason. I thought Mr. Weatherby was going to go get the sheriff, and he says that the sheriff is going to come in a little bit. Well, why? Was the sheriff held up or something? Why is it taking so long for the sheriff to come? Did you just stick around? Is that it? The sheriff should be here by now. I thought that was your sole purpose. You just said you were going to go get him. Why did he not come with you back immediately? Did he not think he was urgent enough? Anyways, the ghost is unmasked as... who else? Uncle Stewart. Had to be Uncle Stewart, or otherwise we have a dead body on a Saturday morning kids cartoon or family-friendly cartoon. Not that means that there isn't, because just because Uncle Stewart isn't dead, that doesn't mean that he didn't dig up a actual dead body. He could have used a faked one, but if he did use a real dead body in that cemetery, then wow, he really did a lot of evil deeds and dark deeds. He really went dark just to achieve, just to get this family fortune. Turns out that he wanted the family fortune all to himself, so he decided to disguise himself as the ghost of Elias Kingston to trick the family into giving it to him. Daphne explains that the ghostly wailing was only recording and he used makeup to make himself look older. Sharon tells everyone that when she went downstairs to investigate a noise, she saw Stewart's wig blow off, making her realize the trick, which is why Sharon was tied up and was by, Uncle Stewart as Elias Kingston. I don't know why Sharon acted surprised when Uncle Stewart, was unmasked. If she knew that he was faking it, maybe it was his motive that she was surprised by. or maybe it was something else. But you know, that is puzzling. You know, Sharon knew that he was faking it, so I don't know why she acted surprised. I guess they needed someone to be surprised when Uncle Stewart was unmasked. And yes, I know it's very implausible that he would have his glasses under his makeup, but it's a cartoon. Don't read too much into it. We both know why they did that. We wouldn't recognize him without his glasses if that was the case. If they tried to do that, you know, what everybody else, you know, would want. If they tried to go the realistic route, it just wouldn't have worked. Sharon then asked the gang about the Swami, and Daphne tells Sharon that the Swami was Stewart's alias. So Stewart was going to use the Swami as an alias after he had faked his death and gotten the family fortune, which is a pretty advanced plan, if I'm being honest. He had everything set up. And when Sharon asked Uncle Stewart why he did it, he remains silent. He doesn't say why he did it, which leads me to believe that he must have had bad blood or not a good relationship with his family if he didn't mind robbing their fortune and faking his death. He clearly had some issues with his family, clearly. Either that or he was jealous of them or something, because that silence says it all. This man was either, you know, just not happy with his family. Mr. Weatherby tells his daughter that Stewart can explain his motive to the sheriff when he comes to pick Stewart up. Mr. Weatherby offers the kids some dinner, to which Shaggy enthusiastically agrees, and when Shaggy gets to the dinner table, he lifts the lid to where some turkey would be, and he sees a sign that says this.
Hey, what's this? Scooby Doo was here.
A surprised Shaggy wonders if Scooby ate the entire turkey. Scooby pops up to confirm this, holding a turkey drumstick, and the episode ends with Scooby saying his name as he always does, and as he's finishing the drumstick. I'm going to give Season 1, Episode 6 of Scooby Doo, Where Are You? 4 stars out of 5. So yeah, I thought this was a good episode. It was very close to being a 5 out of 5, but it just missed the mark a little bit. I'll get into why I considered it a 4 out of 5, but I still consider it a really good episode. It's just as good as I remember it being, and I could see why a lot of people liked it. I had a great time with it. But first, why don't I explain what held this episode back from being a 5 out of 5. So starting with the negatives, my first negative is that I wasn't really happy with the utilization of Velma in this episode. Velma didn't really serve her function of piecing together the clues to solve the mystery. She did have the fingerprinting kit, which is cool, but she didn't even take part in that. That was really Shaggy who did it. She wasn't really much of a leader. She wasn't like Shaggy and Scooby and had a lot of funny moments. She just didn't really do anything. Like, it seems like there were, like, even though, like, there was stuff coming out of her mouth, like, 2 times it was Daphne's voice coming out of Velma's mouth. And maybe they did have lines planned for her, but I don't know, like, based on the ending explanation, it seemed like Velma didn't really piece together the clues and solve the mystery. I felt other members of the gang did that, and in this episode, I felt like Velma was just kind of there and didn't really serve her normal role, but also didn't fulfill any other type of role. So I was a little unhappy with Velma's utilization in this episode, and I think it could have been a lot better. Next, I found that there was a lack of suspects in this episode. Now, obviously you have Sharon and Mr. Weatherby, but they were both debunked very easily since Sharon's a friend of the gang's, very unlikely that she would be the villain, and it gets end up proven wrong because they show her very quickly after the whole ordeal. And Mr. Weatherby couldn't be it either because he goes against the sheriff and he's with the gang when they go to look for Uncle Stewart. So it just and when before they unmask him, you know, he's shown right then and there that, you know, that he's not involved in any way. So yeah, I mean, maybe people can make the case that Mr. Weatherby could have been considered a suspect, but I didn't really consider much. There just wasn't enough there to make him suspicious. So to me, the only suspect in the episode was Uncle Stewart. He was the only one that really fit the bill, and it was pretty obvious that it was him. Obviously, they could have gone the we don't know who this is route, the nobody route. But I'm glad they went with the obvious, the one person in the episode, the one suspect in the episode that we did have. Because I prefer that rather than having, going the no-name suspect. But still, I wish they had incorporated more suspects to help, make the mystery, help make more of a mystery and try to guess who, could be the ghost of Elias Kingston. Finally, there wasn't really much of a mystery in this episode. Now, there was an opportunity to have a mystery, which was what happened to Sharon Weatherby, their friend. But they squander that opportunity by showing Sharon not too long after her disappearance. The audience already knows what happened to Sharon as soon as they show that shot of the door opening, Elias Kingston peeking out and walking out, because we can see Sharon tied up in there. It's very clear and obvious. So now we're forced to watch the gang play catch up and try to wait until they get, the idea that, oh, Sharon's fine, and she was just tied up. We basically have to wait for them to get to the same state of mind, the same conclusion as we just had. So it takes away the mystery because we already know what happened to Sharon, and there just wasn't really much mystery outside of that. I just, because they had an opportunity there, and there could have been a mystery, had they maybe waited until just before the trap to show Sharon, that probably would have been good. Or maybe just after they captured the ghost. But they should have waited later in the episode to show the audience that Sharon was okay and was just tied up somewhere. Because by revealing that too early, you essentially lost the mystery that you had, and now there's not really much mystery. Now we're just waiting for the gang to catch up and get to where we are, and receive the knowledge that we already know. So yeah, not really much of a mystery in this episode. The opportunity was there, but they didn't execute it well. That's all I got from negatives, though, so I think it's about time to get on to the positives of the episode and what makes this episode good. We'll start off with the members of the gang. So for Fred, I thought Fred was a good leader in this episode, as he always is. He also helped piece together the clues and, solved, the mystery, / adventure, whatever you want to call it. I mean, there wasn't really much of a mystery, but Fred did piece together the clues and figured out what was going on. And despite the trap just being a net thrown over the ghost, it still was good because he used, camera tricks to get the ghost to that position. So I'll give him points for being a little bit creative, because he didn't at least just, have Shaggy and Scooby run, and then they dropped the net on him after Shaggy and Scooby passed by. They actually, used camera tricks to trick the ghost, and then trapped him with the net. So I thought Fred was good. I thought he did a good job. He was definitely well done in this episode. He fulfilled a lot of great roles. Good leader. Helped solve, piece together the clues, and he helped make a good trap. Then we have Daphne. Now, initially, I thought Daphne was going to be, I thought Daphne was going to be a weak character. I thought, after I had, watched the episode, I thought maybe, but after I, thought about it for a little bit, I realized that Daphne did fulfill a type of role in this episode, which was, along with Fred, she also helped piece together the clues to help solve the mystery. Or come to the conclusion of what was going on. The reason being is that Fred and Daphne are the ones to really make the, explanation at the end. So that tells me that Daphne did do a little bit of piecing together, and she made a lot of remarks, even though it came out of Velma's mouth. She made a lot of remarks and pointed out clues that she found. So it seemed like maybe they were intending Velma to say some of these lines. Or maybe they were intending Daphne and Velma wasn't supposed to speak, but they just fucked up. But I don't know what that was all about. But yeah, Daphne was good in this episode. She did help Fred piece together the clues and figured out what was going on and delivered the explanation of, along with Fred, what Uncle Stewart was doing, you know, what was his motive, you know, how he dressed up as the ghost, and, you know, what the Swami was, and all that. So I was happy with Daphne's utilization in this episode. Then we have Shaggy. Shaggy was very funny in this episode. I actually really liked the humor with him. Again, I don't know why he used roller skates in that small portion of the episode. It really was unnecessary. Maybe it was just for a gag, I'm assuming. But it did work for fun. If it was for the gag, it did work. But again, it still made no sense why he used that. But yeah, Shaggy was funny. He made a lot of great jokes, messed around with the villain along with Scooby, and had a lot of shenanigans throughout the episode. We also got to see him once again throw his voice, which I like. I like seeing Shaggy throw his voice. I wish modern series would use this and, showcase Shaggy throwing his voice, because this is something that's been severely lost in later series, and I hate that it's been lost, because this was such a cool character, character skill for Shaggy. I really thought this was awesome that Shaggy could do this, and I wish they had kept it and showcased it more in later iterations. I also like that Shaggy was the bait for the trap. This was their first time where Shaggy and Scooby were the bait, and he was good bait for the trap. He was a good sport about it. He got touched by the ghost of Elias Kingston twice on the shoulder, and he helped trap the ghost, and, he did a good job. So, and he was a little bit brave. He even took Scooby snacks to go in to the mausoleum first, rather than Scooby, even though Scooby was about to go in there. He did it instead and stole the Scooby snacks. So Shaggy was also brave in this episode, so I was happy with him. And Scooby, I thought, was very funny in the episode. I loved the hijinks and shenanigans he was up to. A lot of food stealing in this episode from Scooby, which was not nice. That's Scooby stealing food from Shaggy. But he's a dog, so I can't expect any less. Can't trust food around someone like him. But he was very funny in this episode. I thought he was entertaining. He was funny. And I like that, he was brave too. He was bait for the trap along with Shaggy, and he was somewhat brave as well. So I was happy with Scooby in this episode. I thought they did a good job with him. Then we have the villain of the episode, which was the ghost of Elias Kingston. Elias Kingston was creepy and scary. He was a very creepy and scary villain. He was creepy because of his zombie-like walk, and, the way he would touch Shaggy's hand and kind of, do these weird movements. But he was scary because of the power that he had, or the supposed power that he had, with aging up a person. The idea that this ghost can just age you up to death is very scary. That's a very scary scenario, because now this ghost has a power that could instantly kill you. He could just slowly kill you by aging you up until you reach your death, which is a very scary, power, and it makes him a threat and makes him very threatening. And the fake corpse of Uncle Stewart, or the real corpse that, they think is Uncle Stewart, that showcases his supposed power, and that makes him even more of a threat, which makes it seem like this could be a dangerous mystery to, embark on. But they do it anyway, because they're Mystery Inc., and they're good people, and their friend's in danger. So I like the ghost of Elias Kingston. I thought he had a cool power. The cool aging power was really, very scary and very threatening. But he was also creepy because, of the atmosphere and setting he was in, and because of his, movements and his zombie-like walk. So I liked the ghost of Elias Kingston. I thought he was great. Outside of costume, I thought Uncle Stewart was really good, actually. He did a lot outside of costume. Not only did he tell the story to set up, who Elias Kingston is, his powers and his motive, but he also kind of set up himself up as a victim, by using makeup to make himself look old, and using that real or fake corpse to fake his death and make it look like he died. He did a lot in this episode, outside of costumes. So I really thought he was good, that he made himself look like a victim, and he also set up the villain, you know, power-wise and story-wise, but also motive-wise. So Uncle Stuart outside of costume was very interesting, and he's the first person we see in the episode doing his trance-like walk for I don't know who, because he probably might have known that the gang were coming, but even if that was the case, like, if it was just to do it in case there were any onlookers, it's kind of an unnecessary touch that he really didn't need to do to fake that, you know, because he didn't know the gang were going to pass by there, even if he knew they were coming. He knew they weren't. I don't think he knew they were going to pass by there, and he didn't know anybody else was going to pass by there. It didn't seem like a busy street, so I mean, you know, it's better to be safe than sorry, but I don't know. It feels like an unnecessary thing that he probably didn't need to do. But outside of costume, overall, I thought he was good. I liked all of his actions. He did a lot outside of costume. His motive was pretty interesting. So he basically wanted to rob his family of the family fortune, and to do that, he was going to do that by scaring them into giving him the family fortune. Now, normally I would say a plain money motive is very bad, but Uncle Stuart didn't just do a plain money motive. Not only did he go all out with these scare tactics and ghost tactics against his own family, but he literally committed a crime and tried to rob his own family and fake his death, and he didn't care about the consequences of it. He may have even possibly dug up an actual real dead body to take his place, which is very dark. You know, it seemed like he did not have... He either was jealous of his family or wasn't happy with his family, because the fact that he was willing to commit a crime against his own family suggests that he must have had some bad blood or not had a good relationship with the rest of his family, because that's a really good indicator that he just wasn't getting along with his family. So I think the personal aspect kind of helps this motive a lot, because had that personal aspect not been there, I think this motive would be bland. But because he's doing it against supposed loved ones, you know, family members that he's supposed to be close with, this is not something you would normally do to your family members. The fact that he was willing to steal money from his own family members and make them think that he was dead, that's really cold. And that's something that a lot of, you know, villains don't really do to their own families. Usually, I mean, some of them do, I think, down the line. I think there are a lot of them, but Uncle Stuart's probably one of the first ones that does something really cold to his family. It's clear he really did not have a good relationship with his family, or didn't care about his family, because the fact that he was willing to go this far, you know, with his motive and intentions was really eye-opening to his relationship with his family. And it's an eye-catching motive for sure. Like I said, without the personal aspect, the money motive would have been terrible, would have been bland, but it's saved by the personal aspect of the motive. Then we have the clues. Now, the clues were really good because there were an abundant amount of clues. Like, there were tons of clues in this episode. So we had the watchdog, which, you know, they made them question, like, why would a ghost need a watchdog? There's the fingerprints on the door, which again questions the validity of him being a real ghost. The book of crystallomancy, which points towards his alias and what he was going to do. The closed-circuit TV camera, the fan-propelled table, and the makeup kits. There was a lot of stuff that not only helped point towards his motive, you know, his facade wearing off, but what he was going to do after he committed his crime. So everything fell into place, and it helped the gang move towards where they needed to go next. And I thought the clues were really great. They served their purpose. They did a really good job. There were tons of clues. I'm always happy when we get a lot of clues. That really helps with solving the mystery, or, you know, piecing together what's happening. Then we have the atmosphere of the episode, which was really good. So you had this, like, dark night with a little tinge of fog. Not not completely foggy, but a little bit of fog. And you have bats and other, bats surrounding, the mausoleum or the cemetery and the mansion. And it's just like a really creepy, vibe and atmosphere to the episode. It's really dark. And combine that with, the ghostly wails that the villain makes, which is also really cool. Like, the villain helps contribute to the atmosphere because of his wails, the way he walks. And the fact that, he showcases the dead body in Kingston Mansion, which helps further solidify the danger in this mystery / adventure. Because now it solidifies that there might be some threat to the gang's lives, since this is a ghost that is willing to kill people for that family fortune. So overall, I thought the atmosphere was really good. It was eerie, it was creepy, and it was filled with tension and suspense, because you didn't know what the ghost was going to do next, when he was going to strike. Because, he showcased his power earlier with the dead body, and then, he has the ghostly wails, and, then you add the setting, which is all nice, and it fits the tone of the episode. Like, it's just all works. Like, the atmosphere is really creepy and eerie, and it's filled with tension and suspense because of the villain and because of the setting. Speaking of the setting, last but not least, finally we have the setting of the episode, which I thought was great. It was a fantastic setting of the episode. So, of course, we have the main setting of the episode, which is the famous Kingston Mansion. The mansion that's shown in every intro, every episode, the intro of every episode of Scooby Doo Where Are You?, the famous mansion. And the Kingston Mansion delivers on what it looks like in that intro, because the Kingston Mansion is awesome. It looks great. It's, it's filled with, a bunch of cobwebs, and, it's inside, it's old, it's dilapidated. It's near a mausoleum / cemetery. And then you also count the variety in the setting. The gang aren't just in Kingston Mansion. There's also the Weatherby estate. There's the mausoleum / cemetery in between the two houses. And then you have the Swami place, the Swami's place or shop, where Stuart was going to go after he had finished, pulling off, this heist of the family fortune. So I like the variety of the setting, but I also like how the villain and atmosphere help contribute to the setting. And the setting really works. The Kingston Mansion is an iconic setting. It's the most memorable of Scooby Doo Where Are You, I feel like, because we always see it in the intro. And it just is an amazing setting, and it lives up to its expectations. It's a great setting that fits the tone of the episode. It fits the dark, foggy atmosphere around it, along with the bats around it, just like in the intro. And the villain suits it too. The villain fits right in where it's, not just in name, but also in his actions. So, a good setting in this episode. I love the variety and loved, the tone of an atmosphere, and the way how the villain all contributed to making the setting great. Overall, guys, I would recommend this episode to fans and newcomers of the show. It's a really good episode, and it's just that close to being a great episode, and it could have been a 5 out of 5, but it just missed out because of how the weak underutilization of Velma, and the fact that they dropped the ball on the mystery of the episode, which is, I think, the worst part, because, they had the potential to have a good mystery, but they squandered it because of the way they showed Sharon Weatherby too early to the audience, and we were playing catch-up a lot throughout the episode, waiting for the gang to find out the information we already knew, and it just made it, that much worse, because now there was no mystery to the episode. We had nothing really to solve, because we knew what had happened to Sharon, and there just wasn't anything to really, any mystery that was really going on. So they almost had it. It was almost great, but it just missed it by a little bit. So Still, though, a really good episode, and I highly recommend it. It's a classic episode for a reason, and I can see why it's used in the Scooby Doo Wario intro a lot, and a lot of clips are in that intro. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Please give a like if you did. Comment down below your thoughts on the episode. Do you like this episode? Do you like me? Do you consider it a really good episode of Scooby Doo Wario? And consider it one of the best, episodes of the series and a classic episode? Do you hate this episode? I'd be interested in that as well. Is this not an episode you're big on? Do you think it's worse than I make it out to be? Is there more problems that you see? Or are you somewhere in the middle where you think it's okay and decent, but it's not good or bad? I'm curious for your thoughts, so let me know. And subscribe for more Scooby Doo content like this, or if you're just interested in any of my other content, I will have plenty more Scooby Doo reviews on the way for my 2024 summer special, as well as Scooby Month. So you have plenty of Scooby content to look forward to. And if you love Scooby Doo like me, then join the channel, because I'll be reviewing all pieces of Scooby Doo media. TV shows, episodes, movies, games, books, you name it. I'm ready to tackle Scooby Doo. Scooby Doo doesn't get enough love on the platform, so I'm going to give it to him. I want to showcase my love for Scooby on this platform and talk about, Scooby in depth. So if you're like me and you like that and you want to see, in-depth Scooby content, then come to this channel and we can talk about Scooby. You can also follow me on Facebook, where I have discussions about things we talk about on both my channels, and Twitch, where I hope to live stream in the future. In my next video, I will continue my 2024 summer special with a review of Season 1, Episode 11 of the new Scooby Doo movies, which is the second Three Stooges episode. So if you're interested in my thoughts on the second Three Stooges episode, then look forward to that and join me for that. But of course, after that, we will continue my re-reviews of Scooby Doo Wario with Season 1, Episode 7 of Scooby Doo Wario, titled Never Ape an Ape Man, which is the Ape-Man episode with Carl the Stuntman. Oh boy. The episode that gets not one of the fondly remembered Scooby Doo Wario episodes, and not one that I'm looking forward to doing, because not only were our Scooby Doo fans not big on that episode, I wasn't big on it the first time I reviewed it, so it's got one last chance to redeem itself. I didn't give the comic book any leeway. I thought it was bad in comic book format. My original review, I didn't think it was good, but it has one last chance to redeem itself. Maybe I'll find something good in it. We'll see. But, maybe it'll stay the same. I'm expecting I'll probably still not like this episode, but you never know. So if you want to hear my updated thoughts on Never Ape an Ape Man and see if my opinion does change or not, then look forward to that after the Season 1, Episode 11 reviews of the new Scooby Doo movies. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, peace out.
Where are you? We got some work to do now. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We need some help from you now. Come on, Scooby-Doo, I see you. Pretending you got silver. You're not human being, 'cause I can see the way you shake and shimmer. You know we got a mystery to